Hello and welcome to Hardcast, and join us on the first solo adventure of our favorite James Bond Batman Ninja ripoff. I'm Humphrey Erm.
And I'm Christian Claus.
Lifeline, give me Ninjak Volume 1, Weaponeer.
So, issue 1, we meet Roku. Basically, everyone's Mary Sue original character, Do Not Steal. She's perfect in every way and also naked, so there's that. Ninjak has been sent to kill her because no one else can. Well, actually, he saves her. Ninjak gets a new mission to infiltrate Weaponeer by doing tests that try to sound like they have a deeper meaning, but seem to just be for the audience's sake. He's in Weaponeer's favor and asks for him to build a stealth jet. Also during the story, we have quick flashbacks of Ninjak as a kid, getting beaten by his version of Alfred, and then we have The Lost Files, a short story about probably one of Ninjak's first missions.
So you've improved. That was very succinctly summarized.
Yes, I tried my best.
So I gotta say, out of all, because there's always this discussion that we've had regarding, someone's first volume of something.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, this volume as a whole, still focusing on the first issue here, but this is very self-contained, and I would have no problem giving this to someone without like, oh yeah, you should read this first, and keep in mind that this happened prior. This is probably the most, besides the other first volume issues of like the respective series. This one, for coming so late in the game, is really self-contained.
Yeah, but also I think it's really easy to use this character as like a jumping on point for the Valiant universe in some sense, because we know this character. He, as you said in the intro, he's Batman / James Bond. That's exactly who he is. He's a British Batman. So
the best Batman.
Yeah, but I feel like, if you see this whole idea of a ninja going after someone, then you're like, okay, yeah, I get that. And then you see him, talking with this guy who's giving him a mission or something like that. You don't need to know who they are because you know the archetypes. You know what I mean? There's no question about who these people really are.
Oh, no, absolutely. But even so, I feel it's done very solidly here. We'll discuss further as we go on. But even as like a first issue, yes, like, okay, a new story. So, and it's, does well.
Yeah.
That's the usual kind of thing that you dislike, with the... Let's see, does it actually say...
Then.
Yes, but at the very end, and then now.
Yeah, but not only that, but it also does it again later, when it jumps back to when he finishes watching the movie. And first of all, then does not mean back then without the back. Then without the back means in conclusion or after the fact.
That's true.
So, it's a little bit confusing when, especially at the first time they used it, they put it at the end. Because then it's like, look, this is his past, and then comes now. Right? So that would make sense, right? You see then, now. And then later when it comes to the whole thing when he's in the cinema finishing the movie, then. So after the explosion, after he's flying away with his little jet thing, then he's suddenly, 6 years old? No, maybe 7 or 8? And then, and then, see, I said it right there, and then he's there. I don't know. It's, they could have used a different word. I don't like it any more than you do, I guess, at this point. But especially just saying then just kind of just threw me off because it's just like, well, it's not, that's not what that is, but okay.
But by this time it just feels like expected. Like now I'd almost miss it if it's gone.
Yeah. And we wouldn't have something to talk about every single episode. Also, it was kind of nice to see the nod, and just get to another subject to leave this behind. Kind of nice to see where Ninjak got his name from.
I was about to ask that. Was that? Do you feel that's like good, like a good explanation? Not that we needed one, or superfluous.
No, I think it works. I mean, it's kind of like with the whole 007 thing that, every ninja has their, ninja A, ninja B. It's funny. I don't know if this was like a retroactive thing where they were like, "Ooh, how did he get his name?" It's like, well, what if he was like 007? It's just Ninja K.
Actually, there is an explanation for the original series in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I got to say the new one's better. In the original, it's actually how would you call it? He actually reclaims the name. Like it's actually a name people make fun of him for.
Okay.
Because he was kind of I remember I have it in one of those master volumes, and he's fighting some ninjas as he's just like sort of getting started with his origin, and they know he's British, so they're basically doing this whole Union Jack.
Oh, Union Jack. Okay.
Yeah, and he's a ninja. Yeah, you're just a Union Jack bastard. Yeah, you're a Ninjak.
Okay.
So
yeah, I kind of like that though. I mean, obviously, I don't really like the. I never really liked that whole thing where people own the name that they get back. Just like in My Hero Academia, I really don't like that the hero goes with this, that his superhero name is Deku. It's just like, come on, there could be something. There's something. It could be something so much cooler than Deku.
Hey, when cute little zero gravity girl says she likes that name, you do everything he has to get into her panties.
Yeah, true. No, but I like this way with the Ninja K, and it also kind of shows a little bit of this backstory, which would be kind of nice. And maybe we'll have like in one of the James Bond books / movies where one of these ninjas is not dead yet, or was presumed to be dead and comes back as a bad guy. That would be kind of cool.
Well, I will say that I will say one of the current, because this like Ninjak series, like this like title is over. But there's a current one going on that is called Ninja K. Not sure if it's specifically about the other ninjas or just a way to relabel it, but they do go with the concept. It's rather than just these few panels.
But I actually like the fact that they didn't necessarily spell it out completely. I mean, I obviously know that they did quite literally spell it out. But you know what I mean? Because you did have to take this thing where it was like, oh, Ninja K, oh, Ninjak, okay, yeah, okay. It was kind of nice because it wasn't such a big deal where they were like, oh, look, see, you're Ninja K, get it? It was fun. It was actually kind of interesting to see, like, yeah, no, it's something that you can like see yourself. But yeah, so I kind of enjoyed that. Otherwise, this volume was, or this issue was really, really nice. I mean, it was good. It was quick. I think the little trials that he had to do were a little bit too much. I feel. I don't know how did you feel about those trials?
I don't know. I feel they, because again, it works on two levels. Because it's one of those great things where you have like the captions giving a total meaning to the images. I mean, you're seeing him doing these weird things, and then that he's in control thanks to his narration. But it works well to just show off the Kano's sleaziness. As he points out, it's more than sure, it's to humiliate him, but also to check for wires and stuff like that, which I feel works really well.
Yeah, with the naked part. I mean, I think if they would have ended it after the karaoke thing where you had to get naked, that was it. I think that was the point where I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the stuff, especially the whole thing. I mean, I'm thankful that they didn't have to show the entire scene where they then took him outside of Tokyo and then let him run around naked. I'm kind of happy that they didn't show that because I feel that would have been way too much.
I feel we missed out on some nice Ninjak booty.
Yeah, but still, it's just like one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's all very weird.
It would have been Ninja S. Ninja.
No, it would be Ninja X.
I guess
like XXX.
Oh yeah, but that one's like Ninja Ass, like Ninja Ass.
Oh, okay.
Oh, either way.
Anyway, so Yeah, I feel like at this point the Kano, or yeah, Kano, I guess, is just being perverted and wants to see some nice British ass.
Yeah, but I feel it
Yeah.
works because it's also because these kinds of stories I've seen a lot as well. And it's all like undercover, and stuff like that. And it's always, like it's always tricky to pull them off right in terms of story
Mm.
because oftentimes I feel the problem is that the people being infiltrated come across as like really inept. Like remember, I think it was season 4 of Arrow. When he comes back to the island in the flashbacks, and he just really quickly gets like a gun from the people occupying it.
Yeah, did I still watch it back then? I can't remember if I
I think
watched it
you
all the
did
way up
because we
to.
made fun of it because he was like he just arrives and just as he arrives, they lose several men, and they still kind of trust him for a bit.
Mm.
We were making fun of it for a while.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, and I'm way back behind on all of these too.
Yeah, I've just given up on watching this kind of stuff anyway anymore.
But either way, but that's the thing there, because okay, we get it. We need to get the story moving along.
Yeah.
But you just kind of feel like, really, you're just gonna trust this guy?
Yeah, true. I mean, I guess.
So I
mean,
feel
I don't.
here it's like really. I feel like you have to be really hardcore. You either have to be genuine or really hardcore to go through with all this. Especially as he says, like, I mean, this is like kind of a bit of a what would you call it? It's almost a little not douchey, but it's just a bit too like cool. Like it's too cool, so it's lame.
Mm.
But just the old captioning when he's getting beat up, it's just like the hardest part was not, just snapping all their necks.
Yeah.
It feels a little too middle school.
Yeah, exactly.
When you want to write a cool character, it makes sense. It's in character. I just can't help but just feel it.
I mean, otherwise, I think it's pretty good in this sense. Like everything else just works.
Again, it's very solid. Yes, little bit of everything. So on each thing done very well and enough, I feel.
But again, we do have to say that this story has been told a lot of times, and it did feel like it was just checking off boxes.
Mm.
So, I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, again, we said like this is literally like 1-to-1 Batman, especially with this kid, like him as a kid. It's just there's so much of this felt like Batman, like even the architecture of the city, just this whole like rundown kind of bad part of the town kind of thing, and then him living in this mansion away from town, and then the butler there as well. I mean, again, obviously Alfred never beat Bruce, but you know what I mean.
Oh, I'm sure he gave him a snack every so often.
Yeah, true. All right, Bruce, you little bastard. I'm gonna fucking bet you in that face.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, yeah, the story is fine. But then we come to the Lost Files, which I don't know. I feel like you kind of need to. If you have a story like this, I feel like you have to kind of rethink. I don't even know why. Why am I saying this? Because no one cares. I just feel like if you have these kind of story setups, which makes sense if you're doing issue by issue, I feel like you should be able to change it up for the volume. You know what I mean? Because I feel like the volume, like if you're buying a volume, it's a different kind of experience. And I feel like you should use that chance to have this different kind of experience and then tell the story in a different way. I understand that when they put out these volumes, or sorry, when they put out issues, I understand that they will have the story and then put a little story at the end. That makes sense. But for me, when I was reading this, I was getting out of the first story and had to go into a second story in between. You know what I mean? It just felt so weird.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but I don't know. How would I say it? Because I kind of like, even in a volume, I do like getting like a story in pieces, assuming everything will be eventually put together. Like for me, and again, obviously, as you were saying, when it was sold as issues, of course, it'll have to be presented like this.
Yeah.
but I feel it works well in terms of. I mean, I like seeing contrasts like this. It's kind of like when you have silly things where you have like a prequel or something, and they are all, and the character is like famous for liking something, and they'll be like, "Oh no, I hate that thing." In terms of it's just like it's the transformation.
Mm.
And I feel getting it in pieces here, it works well.
I don't know. I just felt like it was an interruption from like the actual story. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is different, but I feel like when I'm reading these, I'm skipping through so many pages, and I don't know if it would be. I mean, obviously, I'm just some guy who is reading a comic complaining about how it's set up. That where there's hundreds of actually people who are being paid for this, who have studied comics, who have done all this research and stuff like that, who know how most people in the world are doing it. But
Yeah, all
that's
right.
why
What's
you're
your
here.
opinion?
Yeah, it's my opinion, right? Why not create a volume of 4 comics? And you're basically saying like, look, if you want to read them episodically, you want to have these books and read them like in the way that they come out each month, then buy them each month. But if you want to read them as a volume, we're going to change the storytelling a little bit. We're going to put the stories together in like there's no cover in between, no ads for other comics in between. And we can put that at the front or at the bottom or at front and at the back. And we just have like little indicators. Like I feel that would be so interesting just to try that as an experiment, to see what people would see or what people would like. You put all these issues one by one after each other, all 4 of them or 5 of them, depending on how many you have, with no interruptions. And then on the top, you can kind of indicate, okay, this is where issue 2 starts. You can do a little bit of like a tag or something like that. And then you have like this complete story that you can read through. Or maybe even, maybe put the cover in there just as a separator. Because sometimes the story, the way that the art is drawn, is kind of like a quick previously on. But you know what I mean? Because you're reading it differently. You're reading it all in one go. It's the same way like with TV shows. There's a lot of TV shows now that are being made in order to be binged.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we both relatively recently finished Stranger Things 2.
Right.
That's obviously designed for it.
Exactly. And the idea there is that I feel like if you just take a step back, because I feel like a lot of times you're looking at these books and you're not doing anything new because you're just like, well, this is how it's always been, so this is how we're going to do it. And I feel like if you're buying a volume, you want to read the arc. You're there for the story. And I feel like this kind of setup would be an interesting way to do it, that you just cut the stories together. I mean, you can take out the to be continued. You can say even, look, this is the altered version. If you want to read it issue by issue, then buy issue by issue. But if you want to read the story, if you want to just read the volume, then buy the volume. And there's going to be no to be continued on the bottom of the page. We're going to take those out. And then we'll just be, sure, we'll put a cover in so you can see, okay, this is where the second issue starts. And then you keep reading. And there's not going to be any, because I'm like skipping through like 5 pages or 10 pages of, some sort of extra stuff that I don't really care about in that point, credits and stuff like that. You can put that at the end, like at a normal, like a real comic book. You put the ads for Bloodshot Reborn #1. You put the ad for all the other kind of comics that were in this volume. Put them all at the end, because then you're out of the story. You don't have to like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like if I'm reading a comic like this, like I've done with a lot of like real comics as well, like in my hand. I just skip over all these things. I'm not looking at the ad. I'm skipping the ad. But if I'm at the back and I'm done with the story, I'm like, oh, that was nice. What else is there? I'm not going to go like flip through the comic, go back and go like, oh yeah, where was that ad? If the ads are right away next, then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, let's see what Bloodshot's up to. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Maybe, there's 5 pages of Bloodshot. It's like, oh, this looks good. Oh, look, there's a, Book of Death thing coming up. That sounds interesting. You know what I mean?
It's too bad that what's called someone else just snapped up the editor-in-chief position at Marvel, because that was available for a while.
Yeah, right.
No, but I mean, this was a huge kind of tirade of how to actually, on a like publishing level, organize something. And honestly, I think I agree with you. I don't think it's really as a big deal as you made it out to be.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, it's just probably just me because I'm like, I just
No,
noticed that I'm just constantly just skipping through stuff.
No, but I think it makes sense. And sometimes you kind of need, this little more, not outsider, but just someone who doesn't like accept things as they are.
Mm.
And that sometimes like helps. I mean, again, I'm not suggesting you were going to get the editor-in-chief or anything. It just was kind of timely. So,
timely,
I mean,
reference.
it would be like about a week afterwards once this episode airs, or however you refer to it. But all right.
So yeah, going to the Lost Files. Just really quickly. I mean, yeah, it's a nice little kind of drama thing that's going down, and yeah, it was interesting to see where Ninjak started, or where Colin started.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so after skipping through the Bloodshot Reborn #1 issue there, we get to issue 2.
Ninjak continues his infiltration of Weaponeer by joining Kano on a visit to the Zoo, an odd theme park-like location with animals and debauchery untold. In order to keep up his charade, Ninjak has to shoot someone in the head, though he manages to choose a target that kind of deserves it. And apparently he didn't actually kill him. We flash back to our young Colin getting inspiration from a book to poison his butler, but the butler sees through the ploy. Back in the present, Ninjak drugs Kano and goes to hack his computer, but is interrupted by Roku and thus tossed out a skyscraper window. Along with the lost files for this issue, we see Ninjak failing to assassinate the target because he realized they were a woman. Sexist pig.
And then, of course, he didn't mention that he then kisses his handler.
Oh, true. Yeah, I guess that might have been important. Yeah, just what's called agent and handler. Kissing. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And nothing.
Well, actually, yeah, there's a lot wrong with that, but okay.
Nothing relevant to the story at hand either.
Yeah, well, you have to set up the next one. So
I actually wanted to bring up one little thing, because back when Comics Alliance was still a thing, they actually did have kind of a thing where they were trying to kind of like show off Valiant to like non-Valiant readers.
So pretty much everyone?
Exactly. So I remember I was just checking those articles out because it's kind of like, okay, it'll be interesting to hear these opinions. It was all in article form, like interview form.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to share, I can't find the actual article, but paraphrasing from what I remember, they had shown the first Ninjak volume, and I disagree with this, but they felt it was like a very racist depiction of this whole zoo scene, in terms of like showing, oh look, it's Japan, it's all like weird and strange. And I think they misunderstood that very much.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's not Japan, it's Kano.
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be a weird, crazy thing, because like only someone who has so much money and power can get away with this.
Yeah.
I just remember reading that myself and was like, what? So, but yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, I mean, this is the problem when, I mean, I'm not going to get into this right now, but I'm just going to mention a little bit. I mean, this is the problem with having to have this sensational news, or like this sensational kind of controversy everywhere, is I feel like, because that's what gives you views,
Oh yeah.
That's what get people to talk about it, and that's why we're talking about it right now. I mean, you remembered it because they were making a big deal out of it. And so obviously, if someone's constantly in that mindset of trying to figure out what's a way that they can kind of earn a lot of views and clicks and ad revenue and stuff like that off of something, then obviously they're going to see this and be like, oh, they're being racist against Japan because they're Japanese people because it's weird. When actually that's kind of, racist from his or her side to say that, because then they're already generalizing Japanese people.
Yeah, exactly.
If she's looking at one person and then using that one person to dictate like what an entire culture is like, I mean, then that kind of racist thought needs to be present in their mind already. So I'm just saying that, like, yeah, I didn't think about that at all. I was just like, look, this is, I don't know, this is a guy who has a shitload of money who can do whatever he wants, and he's doing whatever he wants. And yeah, this is horrible. I mean, this is a horrible thing that he does, but I mean, I don't know.
So I am really impressed with the chimpanzees, though.
Why?
The little butler chimpanzees. And little servers. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
That one anime girl is weird, though. It's on page 50. I mean, everyone looks all realistic or like normally drawn, and then suddenly there's this one anime girl.
Maybe it's a papier-mâché head or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's something, and that's actually something I'll just bring up, because this is in general with any kind of like 2D art. It's very tricky to depict art within art.
Yeah. That's why I always, when, like in some of the cartoons that you would see, when someone would draw, they would draw worse. They would draw like really badly. But then it would be kind of like, no, you're just going a step down. So their bad drawing is a good drawing in their universe.
Exactly. But it's always something like that with, because I don't know, like I've noticed that a lot with like anime, for example. When you see anime characters watching anime, either they'll try to exaggerate the anime a little bit more, so make it like really chibi stuff.
Right.
But even if it's not, it still kind of gets then like, so is this a live action show they're watching?
Yeah,
like exactly. in relation,
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't matter, if they say it's an anime, I'll believe it.
Yeah, of course.
It's not that, but it's just the way to depict it, and also depending on how much, like depending on the style too. So just on a what's called personal level, way years ago, I did little comic strips about mythology, like in my school. And I had a little thing about Medusa. It was all black and white because that's just like kind of how we'd print it. But again, how do I depict statues when it's just black and white? Like if all the characters are drawn the same way, like how do I draw something so it's supposed to look like a statue without coloring it gray, with a colored background?
Right.
There's a lot of little things like how little icons, little symbols to kind of like, oh yeah, true, there's a crack there. Humans don't crack. So that would, imply that maybe it's rock.
Or you could also draw it a little bit rougher, like, more jagged edges instead of...
Well, I was 8.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, that kind of stuff.
So yeah, but otherwise, I mean, it's great. I mean, that little thing where he tried to poison his butler, that was interesting, I guess.
Well, it's a like creepier version of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of saved that question for like the end. So, but I think since obviously the comparison is invited due to all these superficial similarities, I would like to discuss just a bit like how the differences like affect the character. So, but yeah, no, it's just, again, it's in general though, the whole volume I feel is paced very well. So I feel this volume as well, not so much like on its own, except for like the zoo scene being like sort of a set piece.
Wait, do you mean volume or issue?
Oh, issue, sorry.
Okay.
Issue 2 here, it's like, except for like the zoo being sort of like a set piece, and then also the children's book being kind of a very, especially looking at the thumbnails, it really pops.
Oh, yeah.
But in general, this one feels more like a stepping stone issue, so to speak. Like, yes, feels like this is there to get to the next issue. So important and necessary, but yeah, just not really something I remember too much.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what I like about it, again, and what I'm saying is that I'm reading this as like a one story. So it's just, you have these different acts. And that's why I also feel like, the better way to read comics is over volumes. I'm not a floppy guy, if you know what I mean. No, but seriously, it's just like, because you're getting a complete story. I mean, yeah, you're opening up a sequel, obviously, every time at the end. but you always have a complete story. So for me, this is just, you know, shortly before this is like Act 2.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's you don't really feel, which is again, as I've said, I don't really care much for podcasts or reviews that review single issues, because again, it just feels, yeah, well, just a part of a bigger story.
Exactly. It's like if you're reviewing every 30 minutes of a movie.
Exactly. Or reviewing every episode of like a Netflix series that's being binged. Like, is there really any reason for, like with Stranger Things, for example, just because it's recent, to have like a review of each episode when it's just like...
Oh, they literally did that on after Stranger Things or something like that, or Beyond Stranger Things or whatever it was called.
And they reviewed each episode, or...
Well, they have this, I don't know, I mean, you watched it on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Well, didn't it always at the end of the episode kind of give you one of those like suggestions of what to watch next, and it was this Stranger Things?
No, it goes immediately to the next
aftercut?
episode.
Okay. Well, because like they literally have a series now out where they discuss every single episode. They do like this kind of after show talk. They have that for Star Trek as well.
Oh, okay, no, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, so I mean, usually at the end of an episode, especially with Star Trek, because it comes out weekly.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense, because you have this, it feels more self-contained then.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel that's the thing, when it's coming out in parts, you have this time to sit there and discuss, to kind of like, okay, what do you think of that episode? But if you're watching, something that's already sort of there, and it's presented as such from the beginning, I just don't really see the reason to discuss it, because unless you don't like the show, there's no reason to continue watching it then. Oh, no, sorry, that sounded wrong. No, but if you don't like the show, then you don't continue watching. If you like it, you just keep watching. You don't really have to have a discussion really per episode unless you stop and then pick it up later.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how people watch it. I mean, we didn't binge it. And I don't think a lot of people do binge it. I mean, I think a lot of people just watch it maybe one episode a day. I mean, obviously, I don't know necessarily all the statistics, but it's one of those things where you're not. I don't think a lot of people have that kind of time, especially adults who have jobs. No adult with a job has time to sit for 9 hours and watch a series from beginning to end. I mean, yes, there are people who do have that time in the afternoon or something like that, or in the evening when they come home from work, they can watch like 4 or 5 episodes, and maybe they make bad decisions and stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning to watch it and then have to go to work at 6. But you know what I mean? It's just, I feel like you can kind of discuss these episodes one by one. The same thing with here. You can discuss issues one by one. However, I feel like you are kind of putting the cart before the horse, because you're kind of saying, okay, well, this is what we are. I don't know. It's hard to say, because I think because of the way the comics are set up, because they only have like these 22 pages or 21 pages, they don't have a lot of stuff that they can bring across, especially because it's all, pictures and text, and you don't have a lot of area to put stuff in. On a TV show, you can cram so much shit into 22 minutes. I mean, if you think about it, like how many sentences, how many words you and I are talking in this 1 hour podcast, it's ridiculous how much information we get out. And I feel like that's why a lot of issues of comics sometimes feel like nothing happened, because they have to get information out there that they can't get out otherwise. And that's why I believe that volumes are the way to go to read comics. Because you sometimes you will get an issue that is so goddamn boring because they just needed to get the information out there. I mean, just like with this episode, with this issue right here that we have.
Yeah, it's not even bad.
I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. But in the grand scheme of things, it was still just another one of those tests that they had to do. Or no. How about we take the next issue, which we can go to anyway, I think, right? I mean, is there anything else we want to discuss on this issue still?
Well, no, I mean, yes, the Lost Files, which is just further more, what's it called? Just another little segment of his early days.
Yeah.
And the thing I made the joke of from the beginning of the podcast with him getting cold feet when he sees that it was a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
So Betty what's called, regrets not killing that woman.
I mean, yeah, if you take the next episode or the next issue, is this the issue that it is?
Yep.
No, it would be the fourth issue. Sorry, it's not this one. This one's kind of okay in the sense of like information wise, but I'm talking about like the fourth issue, which we'll get to later. But in that issue, nothing really happened. I think that would be one of those books where a lot of people would kind of set it down and kind of like, yeah, nothing really. I mean, I got some information, but whatever.
I don't know. But speaking of which, if you're ready for issue 3.
Yeah. I just feel like you have this risk of having an issue that is really boring. And if you give it out as a volume, it's like, okay, so that was 20 minutes that was boring, and now comes the next one that's going to be more exciting again. I don't know. We'll see. I am not a decision maker, so that's why I'm here on this podcast and not working for Marvel. So issue 3, Roku and Ninjak get into a fight. He's able to get rid of her, leaving her to fall to her death, while he goes and deletes a video of him from the surveillance footage. It looks like everything went well until he comes back to Cannon, who is just waking up, and he reveals that he knows that he's Ninjak. We also see that Roku is still alive. Obviously, between all that, there was a lot of fighting and beating off people and stuff like that, so it's all good. In the Lost Files, Colin feels bad for not killing the woman. He follows his handler through the city trying to find out what she's up to, but she knew right away from the beginning that he was following her, so she bought him a watch and they have sex. Then we see some people ready to break into their love nest, and that's the end of the issue.
Well, again, here I feel it's more of a cool action set piece.
It is. And I gotta say, I mean, very exciting. I mean, I especially love his little finger movements that he did. Also pretty cool. Showing a lot of like kind of his relation to like the ninjutsu and stuff like that. It's interesting to see them kind of add that in there to take that space to actually put the finger movements in.
Yeah, because that's something that for a comic, it's a lot of, I'm not going to say wasted space, but it's a lot of real estate on the page to spend.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, in animation, it can be just a few frames because it's supposed to be a quick movement. Right.
I mean, they did that in Naruto the entire time.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they had the same issue in terms of in the manga having that happening. But again, they did it the same way as here, just quick panels or just 2 poses or whatever. So, but just I feel this was, I guess, a little bit more of a nice, complete action, like good action. I feel like I'm not saying that there hasn't been good action before in previous Valiant titles, but maybe partly. And again, this might be one of the things why people like Batman a lot. Despite the gadgets and the hyper, vitality, I guess you could say, or the prime fitness. It's still a human. So having like a human accomplish these things just feels a lot more like ooh. So of course,
because that's why I think Batman is so popular, because I think a lot of people just see him as like, well, if I had the money, I could do that too.
Exactly. Even if it's just as like ludicrous as Superman, really.
Well, of course, but I mean, there's still that thing. He's still a human, technically.
So, but they do the usual thing too here with the. And I always kind of personally dislike when they just brush off things like broken ribs. It's like, dude, you could get internal bleeding. It's not like
you could get a punctured lung and literally die.
But it's the go-to to kind of, okay, we need something. I don't know why people think it's one of those sort of serious, but still, good enough that you can just kind of like grit through it.
Well, because I think, anything, if you break anything else, it's very noticeable. Like, say if you break one of your arms or your leg, you can't walk, you can't move. If you break your back, you're paralyzed. So I think a rib is the only kind of bone that you could break and then still kind of fake it.
Yeah, I guess I think you're actually right. It's just in fiction wise, it's just a practical.
Yeah, it's the most practical bone to break because you don't see it, you don't do anything with it. You can fake it because you're just like, oh, I'll just control my breathing and not breathe too hard or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you have several ribs too, so.
Yeah, so you could be like, depending on how strong the kick was or whatever, you can be like, oh, I broke a rib, or oh, I broke 5 ribs. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, just the whole free fall there is just really cool.
Yeah, it was really well paced, and also the panel layout was just beautiful. It felt really, really good. There was no confusion. Every movement was like, you could anticipate every movement. You understood every movement. It just felt good. I mean, I'm not quite, I guess the only thing I don't quite understand is how he got out of the stranglehold. I never saw him cut anything necessarily.
Yeah,
I mean, he just pulled himself up on the grappling hook, and that would have kind of killed him, I guess. Or maybe it was the when he hit her pressure point on the nose. Then she loosened up, and then he could get out of the hold. Yeah. Yeah, and then we can discuss the child thing later, obviously, all in one.
Not true. I mean, we've kind of done it already, but I mean, like with the previous issues. So, but yeah. I mean, just
there's not really much else in this issue, is there? I mean,
really, what you said in the introduction to it really was explained in the Lost Files.
Yeah.
Not really much more there, except it's. I mean, I like the contrast. Just if we want to go a little more analytical. I definitely like the contrast of how the Lost Files are told in comparison to the main story.
Yeah.
Again, looking at the thumbnail session, just to see like the overview. So it's like also quadratic. It's also square. Like everything's just like perfect and neat, symmetrical almost.
Classical.
But again, it makes sense. He's not an action guy yet. So in the story that's being told, there is a very slow story.
Yeah, well, it's a spy thriller at this point.
So that's true. That's what I mean. It's just kind of interesting to see these. I mean, it's a different artist too, so it's not like it's the main artist having to change his style or anything. It's just kind of nice to see like this contrast. It just helps sell the point better.
Yeah.
All right then. So issue 4. We take a break from the immediate action and check out the backstory for Roku. Years ago, a monk got powers from Master Dark and thus started to hit nails in the neck of potential recruits, Roku being one of them. She goes through some trials, from being buried alive to fighting some colored ogres, all helped with her newfound powers of controlling her hair and body, ending with a sneak peek at the Shadow 7, as well as an accusatory finger pointing in the present. Taking a break from the Lost Files, we check out the origin of this monk cult, having someone similar to the Bleeding Monk be revered in the Himalayas, making some mountain climbers give up everything to do his bidding. After years of tasks, we see young Kano arrive and becoming the first of what would be the Shadow 7. So it's all kind of interesting. I mean, this is almost like a huge break, you could say.
Yeah, it's literally taking us completely out of the action and just going like, all right, now let me tell you a story.
Yeah, I mean, we just get like maybe 10 seconds of the actual main story in this whole issue.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it is interesting, what she's going through. And I kind of like it that she's not killed at the end of the issue or at the end of the volume. Because I think then it would have just been a waste of everything if she just like, oh, let's talk.
Wasted a whole issue explaining.
Yeah. It's like, oh, and she died. Sorry. So yeah, she is interesting. She has an interesting power, and I did like that whole where she was kind of thinking about that childhood story that she was told. It was interesting. I mean, I really like this. But as I said, this is one of those issues where you're like, so what does this have to do with Ninjak? Why am I reading this? And I mean, especially, again, if you have like a month in between these issues, I don't know, I just feel at that point it's just Yeah.
That's a very good
Unnecessary.
point. If you were really like, oh crap, Kano knows he's Ninjak. Can't wait next month. Oh, okay, cool, but we still don't know really what's going on.
Right. And then you have to wait another month.
So, but I think it's really, I'm actually very thankful for this issue. Because again, it's, as much as I like the fact that Valiant isn't too scared to kill off characters, you kind of have to start gathering up a catalog of both heroes and villains. And I feel Roku is definitely like a good, like, again, not like it's gonna be like the biggest, mastermind or anything. But she's like, I feel she's like that kind of as she's like a bodyguard here, but I feel like she's just kind of a cool mercenary character.
Yeah.
Like,
but she's also really OP. Like I said in the intro, it's just, or like in the first issue summary, it's just, oh my god, when I heard like all the descriptions about her, I was just like, this sounds like some sort of Mary Sue that someone came up with, some OC to put into some sort of story that they're writing. It's like, she's perfect in every single way. And no, she doesn't look at all like me. Okay.
I certainly hope she doesn't look like Matt Kint.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, only you can defeat him. Or
yeah, I mean, I agree in some sense, but I don't know. I feel it's just a cool character. Like,
yeah, no, but I mean, I think it's okay that she's a villain and she has these powers, especially because, if you're going up against Ninjak, who does, as they said in the first issue, they are pretty much equals. And that's something that I like, because it's like, okay, well then, she can be OP because she's going against another OP character. So you're fine. But I'm just kind of worried, like, okay, if you said that, you need to build up their villain roster, what's going to happen with Roku if she then has to fight against someone else? Like, think if she has to fight against Archer and Armstrong. I mean, come on.
Well, again, luckily Archer and Armstrong will have the power of like a comedy book on their side.
Yeah, true.
So, and honestly, they wouldn't do too bad, would they? I mean, Armstrong's immortal, and Archer, he has like all this what's called high reflexes and stuff. So honestly, I think they actually do fine. And now I want to read that. No, I don't know. It's kind of cool, and I also like it when because I feel Valiant does this a lot. But like it when it's flashbacks that they then have a different artist. I guess what's called. He didn't even get his name on the front cover. What was his name now? Clayman, who's been like the main artist for the other issues. So I guess Clayman got to like take a break that month. Yeah, starts like the first page and then the what would it be? And the last page. I really like this guy's art, and he's actually gonna be drawing another Eternal Warrior comic later.
Okay, cool.
So as well as another book that we'll be reading later. But I feel he has a nice. I'm not sure how to describe it, because not that it's rendered really much more. But it just has this kind of roughness to it, which really helps with this kind of story, I feel. I mean, it's such a gritty, like, awful, like, thing happening that having art that just makes me kind of, like, uncomfortable in a way. Just the way, like, everything's, like, depicted. I feel it really helps. So, but then a question then for you on page 149. So we get to see the Shadow 7, or I guess 6. Yes. So I felt this was very like manga-like. I feel that's a very common thing. You'll have like, in this case, Kano for this volume. I feel it's very common there too, like in a shonen series, you'll have like this battle with like this supposedly main guy, like main bad guy.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that they're actually part of an organization, and that gives the manga artist excuse to design a whole slew of new characters. So do you have any like opinion on the little bit we see here? We got a guy with his helmet.
Nah, not really. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to judge a book by its cover. So, no, I'm joking. It's just one of those things where I have nothing to go on with these guys. I mean, yeah, it's weird that the one guy has like this helmet on, and the one guy looks like J. Jonah Jameson. The other one looks like one of
Yeah, a
those
little bit, yeah.
trolls. You know, one of those troll puppet things, like that one guy. Oh, and then they have the
Yeah.
black guy too. So, you know, good for diversity. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah. I mean, I don't know who all those people in the back are. I guess they're the minions or whatever. But yeah, look, I mean, it's one of those things where like I'm excited to see what's coming up next, like to see who these are as well, and you know how they'll fight against Ninjak.
But you don't have this like
But,
speculation, really. You're not like in the mood for like, oh, maybe this will happen, or oh, I hope that.
No, not really, because there's like nothing. There's no indication, you know. I mean, except for what they look like, and you know, it's not like with like Mega Man villains where you can look at them and you're like, oh, okay, so that's like the water guy, that's the leaf guy, that's like, you know, this is just like, okay, it's 5 guys.
6.
2 of them, so yeah, six guys.
We'll find new guys.
Huh?
We'll find new guys, you're right, because we know Ken already.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, you're like looking at them, you're like, okay, so there's these 6 guys, 2 of them look weird. And it's just like, so there's nothing. Yeah, 2 look Japanese. 1 is black. 1 is white. 1 is weird, and the other one has a space helmet on. It's just like, so there's nothing you can really take from that.
No, but you're right. It's I was comparing it to like how in like mangas and anime, but they tend to have a lot more radical designs that can bring a lot more questions.
Yes, and this is just like yeah.
Yeah, no, but like take like Boku no Hero Academia. You know, whenever they have like, oh look, here's a group of characters. Like take all those teachers we barely get to see.
Yeah.
But immediately, you know, just like a screenshot from there, like, oh wow, it's like kind of a gunslinger guy, and
right.
Whoa, who's this guy? Oh wow. All right.
So final issue.
I suppose. I mean, not really much to say with it's not Lost Files technically this time. But it's kind of cool. I like the idea of just this monk like meditating there and just getting these people to do his bidding.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. Just like a madness taking over, and it's kind of nice seeing an origin like this, because we've always kind of seen kind of like sects and stuff like that, like, you know, like the League of Assassins, for example, and other things. I kind of like this because this is, I think, the few times we get to see the actual origin of something like that.
Right.
Like the humble beginnings of this super secret society or whatever.
Yeah.
Just one guy alone and then some tourists, I'm assuming, who just decided to like help out. So, but yeah.
All right. So issue 5. We finally get to the fight between Roku and Ninjak. She keeps saying that she recognizes him, and we flash back to then, seeing a new badass Colin. Kanon gets into the fight himself. We're jumping around in time a lot, confusing everyone, I'm assuming. And then back to being a kid, then a month later, which is not a month later than when Colin's parents came back home, but it's a month later after the Kanon fight, so that's also really weird. Anyway, it seems like Colin has taken over Weaponeer and is continuing the work, although he is keeping track of the people he's dealing with. His new mission is to track down all the Shadow 7, and he won't stop until he's done. So we have no idea what happened in the fight. It would have been really fun to see, but Kanon is now in a vat. His arms are cut off, and he's all like, oh, the Shadow 7 know what's coming. It won't be easy. Then we see Roku in the south of France. Then we go back to then, and we see young Colin open the safe and find loads of weapons. Finally, in the Lost Files, his handler is dead, shot during sex, I assume, and after killing her killer, Colin finds his way outside, sees an assassin who, I guess, organized the entire thing, and vows to kill her as well. Then Colin's in trouble for breaking protocol by having a personal relationship with his handler, and is assigned to Neville. And that's how we end the volume.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that fight being cut?
I don't mind it so much because it wasn't so much that the fight was cut because it was already won. No, I mean, like, he got him into the pool, attached him, and I guess he got him, like, sort of semi-drowning, I guess, to the point of, like, unconsciousness. So I'm assuming that he probably cut off his arms and legs just to immobilize him and then called in MI6 or whatever.
Yeah, but then also what happened to Roku? Like, do you think she would just be standing there like, oh, you defeated my master. Okay, then I won't fight you.
That I agree with. Rereading it this time, I was kind of like, she just disappeared.
Right.
Like, I mean, he told her to back off because, he wanted to fight him himself.
Yeah, but then at that point, you're like, yeah. Also, by the way, as like an ex-swimmer, pools do not have a plug like that. Like real pools, and this looks like a real pool. Like if you look at it, it has lanes and everything. That cannot be held back by a plug. Also, if you pull that plug, the water does not rush that quickly down that could create that huge of a swirl or like a whirlpool or whatever. So,
Oh, well, no, it's not I think you might have misunderstood. It's not a plug.
What is it?
No, it's what's called it's Ninjak himself, I think, who...
Oh, it's okay, because the way that it looks like a whirlpool.
Yeah, I think that's just Kano, like, struggling.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay.
Because
okay,
you see, like, he does
okay.
this, like, chick, and he has, like, both his hands to kind of push it in.
Now I understand what was going on. I thought he...
I kind of thought it too, but now looking at it again...
But okay, yeah, okay. Now I get what it was. Now I get what was happening.
It's kind of like those mountain climbing things, I guess, whatever they're called. Those like
yeah. Well, because it just looked like he pulled it out or something. I don't know. Okay, yeah. No, this makes more sense. Much more sense. Yeah, I'm stupid. Sorry.
Oh, it made for a fun little comment. But I like stuff like this though, because and this also is very Batman-like.
Yeah,
because those are the like Batman fights I like. Whereas, like, clear Batman can't win, like, by pure force or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting Bane or someone like that. It's like, crap, he tries to punch him and doesn't do anything, and then he's thrown through a wall. Like, what can he do? And again, I wouldn't call it cheating, because, it's, a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
But it's just this kind of way of, like, circumventing things. Like, okay, well, this guy's obviously super strong. He's quicker than he looks. Well, get him into the water and tie him up there. I mean, even a guy like that has to breathe. It's just cool. I honestly wish sometimes I can't really think of a game that allows you to do stuff like that.
Oh, isn't it that, what's that game called? Where you're on that island? Like, yeah, Just Cause.
Oh, true. That might have something similar.
Because I keep on seeing like GIFs where you can like attach rockets to cars with like one of those lines, and then you can do like really weird, cool stuff where you fly all over the place, and it's just really weird. So, like I see just these GIFs of people who have way too much time playing these games where they're just figuring out different ways of just making really cool things.
No, I guess you're right. I guess it's something more like cinematic, I guess I'm thinking. Like where you have a lot of more options of what to do with a character. But I guess that's just hard to kind of like plan without like making everything like its own like self-contained set piece. But whatever, that was just a little aside.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, a typical setup for the sequel. And yeah, I'm actually really interested in seeing what's going on. Yeah, that's it.
I also really like the idea of, because this also I feel is what kind of Valiant does a lot. It's not a simple thing of like a pure morality thing. Like I could not see, like, for example, assuming this was like a Batman story, Bruce Wayne would not have taken over that company.
Oh no.
Like he can't tarnish the Wayne name. Like even if he tried to like sort of have like maybe a pseudonym or something, he would not purposefully try to continue the business even if he's self-sabotaging it.
Right. I mean, if he would take it over, he would then cancel all, he would do it in a different way. He'd be all like, I'm taking over the company forcefully, because he would have all that money because he also has that persona of being like the billionaire. So he would take over the company.
Yeah, he would make a show of force.
Yeah, he would take over the company by force and then find ways to get through it and kind of, maybe piss off the other people from Weaponeer. But then he would be able to still be infiltrated in that way. He would have done it in a different kind of way, and then would have changed all the practices and stuff like that. Would have been like, we're not going to be, working with weapons anymore, so we're going to change our name to something else. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, but exactly. But that's what I like about this, though. It just feels a lot smarter and playing the long game. It's like, well, you can't just suddenly not do things. If nothing else, they'll just make a new company or whatever.
Right.
So in order to just have this, because it was also secretive anyways, he could easily do it. Because no one else really knows who's supposed to be in charge. They just know like the number crunching. So just the idea then that, he will invite people over and they will ask for, awful weapons. And he will make them for them. And then I'm assuming, as he did that whole cool thing where I guess he put some like tracking device in him.
Right, in the blood.
That's cool.
That is pretty cool, yeah.
But again, I feel that's like that feels like that kind of thing where like, yeah, that's the smart thing to do. Sure, there might be still some people getting hurt because he can't keep track of like everything. But this does seem like the smarter long-term way of actually dismantling this problem.
Exactly.
So
you want to talk about the kids scene real quick and then wrap it up because we're getting to about an hour?
Yeah. Well, honestly, yes, in terms of, just discussing like the kids scene, but also yes, in general. Because I actually did think his parents were dead.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
So it's a very, obviously, immediately, that in a sense should kill any Batman comparison. Because that's kind of like core to the character. So, but the idea that he has, he does have his parents, but he has an asshole butler, and his parents don't seem all that nice anyways.
Right.
And he does obviously have certain, like, I guess, very troublesome, unchild-like behavior. I mean, when he sets up that little, in an earlier issue, he, like, puts, like, a bomb in a little car. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, and then he escapes and then stays, I'm guessing, for months outside of the castle, living off the land.
Is that what he was doing?
I think so. I mean, they're showing the season change.
And that was after the bomb?
Yeah, let's see. I think it was issue 3. Yeah, issue 3, like he blows up.
No, the living off the... Oh, okay, yeah. No, I didn't understand that. I thought when the butler said you can't stay out here forever, you must face the consequences of it. I thought he did go back and then he just spent a lot of time outside hunting and stuff like that, just trying to hone his skill. But I guess
it could be perceived as such, but I feel that's the point with the season changing.
No. Yours makes more sense. It does.
I like the transition too with like the bunnies.
Yeah.
Like from like just sucking and then suddenly a kill shot.
And then I guess he doesn't come back until his parents are back.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And again, they're totally apathetic.
Yep.
Except for when but it's little things like that too. It just shows off like, I feel it really make the character very clear. Because I love stuff like that where he gets someone to reveal something that he didn't know himself. It's like that typical. That was that whole thing. Like, how did you know about that? I didn't. You just told me. But it's so smart. It's such a cool way of like just pure acting and just like, yeah, no, I made a mess in the safe room. What? And then he goes over and then he finds it.
But also, isn't the dad kind of stupid as well? If because it seems like the kid doesn't even know where the safe room is. And not only that, but the safe room did not have a safe in it, like the big iron safe. So So it's not immediately clear where the safe is, and that was the whole idea. So why would it be called the safe room? I mean, obviously to the dad, it's the safe room. But for him, it's just the room with the glass,
with stained glass.
The stained glass window. So here I'm just thinking like, either his dad is really stupid or it's a plot hole. Because then obviously, because I mean, for him, he would have to say then, oh, I made a mess in the stained glass window room.
Yeah, and then he might have been worried if he did find out something or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, because if he says safe room, then the dad must be just stupid, or I mean, maybe he just doesn't care enough because that room does not immediately scream safe room.
Yeah, no, exactly. If it was something that was very clearly, as you said, like with a visible lock or something.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't have had to do it because then it's obvious which room is the safe room. It's the one with a big safe in it.
Mm. Well, I'm thinking it's not just a safe. I'm thinking just like the room itself, But either way. So, but yeah, no, I mean.
So his parents are spies as well, or what?
I think so, but I'm actually not sure if it's actually revealed here. So, but yeah, no, it's But yeah, just in general, this was a really good volume.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yes, again, it's very clear. As you said, the character is very archetypical.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter because, I mean, again, every story has been told before, so whatever. Just tell a good story and it's fun. It's interesting. I like reading it, and 10 out of 10 would read more.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's definitely one of, as I said, like as a self-contained book, definitely one of the best ones of all Valiant, I feel. Yes, as like a single story. Not necessarily like in terms of like a series. We haven't read the other volumes yet. But yes, as its own self-contained volume, I feel this is like a very strong one.
Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next one.
So yeah, no, me too. I totally like, it's been a little while for me as well here, so still haven't read all of the current volumes of this, so I'll have to catch up at some point.
All right. Well then, you can discuss this episode on Reddit, newly again, after not posting a lot of the episodes here. We're back to posting on Reddit. And tweet us, or you can follow us on Facebook. Also, all of our episodes are available on our hosting site, Podbean. The links are in the show notes. Catch us next time for
Ibar Time Walker Volume 2, Breaking History.